So let's discuss how to use the Restock Limits tool. The first thing you want to do is come to your forecast page and you'll see this thin gray bar at the top of the page, and the default setting is off. So the first thing you need to do is toggle that to on. You will get a green bar at the top that says account settings are successfully turned on, and you'll notice that it's automatically recalculating your restock limits. Let's go ahead and open this by clicking on the gray bar. And in here we can toggle on or toggle off our various marketplaces. So what you'll want to do next is turn off any marketplace that you're not currently using. In this case, we're just going to use North America, which is a regional grouping setting, a combination of US, Canada, and Mexico. Now it's recalculating right now, so I want to wait until this is done before I save any changes. But let's go over what to do to set this up properly. The next thing you're going to need to do is go into your Seller Central account and find your restock limits per storage type. This is very important. The utilization quantity and the max inventory levels inside of Seller Central do not have an API request, meaning Amazon does not actually tell us these numbers. You have to go in per storage type. This is my standard storage type, and input my max inventory level. If I were in other marketplaces, I would have to do it for each of the marketplaces that I want to use. And the same goes for the utilization quantity. Now, we will pull your utilization quantity to the best of our ability. This number will be calculated by Restock. It's a combination of your various FBA shipments, your available inventory, your unsellable inventory, and some other calculations. We add it all up for you on the back end to come up with this number here. And the default setting is it will automatically populate for you. If you think that this number is not accurate, based on the time of day that you've logged into Seller Central, or if you want to update this based on what you're seeing in your Seller Central account, you can simply come in here and change that number. Now, just as a warning, as soon as you add that number in there, it's going to change this from an automatic update to a locked manual update. Once you've overridden the number that we're putting in your utilization quantity field, and you've updated your inventory levels, and you've turned off any marketplaces or your storage type settings, once all of that is updated, you have to click Save and Update Forecast. If I want to unlock this, I just click the lock button. Once I click Save and Update, it will now recalculate my entire forecast based on my new utilization quantity and max inventory levels. In this case, I want to change it back to 500. You can see while it's recalculating, we have the locked symbol up there. Now we can come back in here, it's got the lock symbol again. Whenever you see that lock symbol, that means this will never update unless I come in here and I update it myself. So it's very important to understand how that locked feature works. If it's on, then I have to manually put my utilization quantity in there. If it's off, which is the default setting, we will update that based on that calculation I told you about earlier. The other feature that I want to tell you about is the little thumbtack here. If I take that thumbtack and I click it off, you'll notice that none of my restock limits show up on the top menu bar. If I turn that thumbtack on, it will turn blue and my standard size restock limit shows up on the top. The same goes for any of these other ones. Okay, and now we're all set. Let's look at just these 4 products here in North America. What Restock is doing is it's allocating a percentage of the restock limits based on that product's velocity as it relates to the total velocity for that marketplace or regional group setting. In other words, if we were to add up all of these numbers, all of our velocities for these 4 products, and then divide this velocity by that total number, that would be about 69.5%. This one would be about 17.8%, and this one about 12.7%. And obviously 0 is 0%. So in other words, Restock is simply allocating the available inventory to be sent to Amazon based on the percentage of the total velocity. Let's click into the product. Now there might arise a circumstance where you don't want to allocate your inventory simply to the highest velocity product. For example, let's say this product is technically selling a higher velocity, so our system thinks it should get a higher percentage of the total restock limit, but this one is actually a lot more profitable and where you make more money. You might not want this one to be allocated first, even though it's selling more. So we do give you the option of putting a star on those products. If we click into the calculation variables here, we give you the option to prioritize this as a high priority product. And without getting into all the math behind this, it's very simply just adding additional velocity on top of this to make it a higher priority. So if I were to use this high priority product checkbox on a lower velocity product, it would actually rank it as more important and therefore allocate more of whatever inventory storage allowance I have left to that high priority product. Now, I recommend that you do not use that unless absolutely necessary, because it could actually mess up the system if you just randomly start prioritizing many different products. So maybe use it for 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 at the most. It's up to you. Maybe use something like the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your products equal 80% of your income or your sales. Maybe star those ones as your highest priority products. A very important warning: any changes that you make from this point forward will be saved in your account. So if you don't like the Restock Limits tool, please turn it off before you make any changes to your calculation variables. Because if you make a bunch of changes in here when the tool is on, if you later go turn this off, all of those changes are going to stay saved. So it's very important that you understand you are using your calculation variables and your new account-wide restock limits in conjunction with each other. Once you've made any changes, you'll see a Recalculate Now button will populate, because that changes your entire recalculation on your forecast. You must click Recalculate Now for the Restock Limit tool to work. Click that button one more time, and it will apply those new settings with the changes you've made in your forecast or calculation variables. Again, if you don't like the Restock Limit tool, just turn it off before you make any changes to your forecast settings. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to working with you.